Your phone buzzes. Another notification, another opinion about you. 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor wrote something down. He wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you ever dig." That's Marcus Aurelius. He wasn't writing for fame. He was writing for himself. And he was pointing to something, a radical truth the Stoics built their lives on. Your character matters more than your reputation, infinitely more. And this isn't just old wisdom. It's a practical toolkit for now, for modern life. So we're going to look at why chasing approval is a trap, and how focusing on what you actually control leads to a different kind of peace. A profound peace, a lasting one. But first, there's a question. What's the one opinion of yourself that you would protect? Stoics had a way of sorting the world. It's their main tool. Epictetus starts his handbook with it. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. What's up to us? Our opinions, our impulses. What we want, what we avoid, basically anything that's our own action. What's not up to us? Our body, our possessions, our reputation, any position we hold. Anything that isn't our own doing. That's the dichotomy of control. It's the foundation, and look where reputation is. It's in the column of things not up to us. It's an external. It lives in other people's minds, their opinions, their moods. You can try to affect it, you can wish for it, but you can't control it. To base your worth on that is to invite anxiety, because you've linked your peace to something you don't own. Take a social media comment. The words themselves, a stranger's view, that's external. You can't control it, but your judgment of it, whether you reply or keep scrolling, your internal reaction, that's yours. That's internal. The Stoic practice is to see that line immediately. To see the comment as an external event like the weather, and to see your response as the only thing you actually govern. This framework quiets a loud world. It asks one clear question: where does your agency really live? So here's an exercise. Pause for a second. List, even just in your head, 3 things you can actually control right now. Your next breath, your intention for this hour, your choice to listen or to speak. Then list 3 things you often worry about but can't control. A future result. A past error, what someone else thinks of you. The gap between those 2 lists is where Stoic work starts. It's where character gets built, because it's the only place you're actually free. Society tells you to chase certain things, but the Stoics, they had this idea. They drew a line. On one side there's virtue, and on the other side everything else. They called all that other stuff indifference. Your health, your money, your reputation. These things have value. It's better to have them than not. They're preferred. But they're not good, not in the deepest sense. They can't make you a good person. Only your character can do that. That's the radical claim. Virtue, arit, is the only good. And it's made of 4 things: wisdom, to see what's true; courage, to act on it; justice, to treat others fairly; and temperance, to govern yourself. A life built on that is a life of flourishing, eudaimonia. Everything outside of that is just scenery. It can be pleasant scenery, comfortable, but it's not the foundation. Your reputation is part of that scenery. Seneca put it sharply. He said it's foolish to value the mirror more than the face. The mirror is other people's opinion. It only reflects. The face is your character, your actual substance. To spend your life polishing the mirror, angling for the best reflection, while you ignore the face itself, that's to miss the point entirely. Think of 2 people building a career. One focuses on skill, on integrity, on doing excellent work for its own sake. That path is aligned with virtue. The other is obsessed with titles, awards, being seen as important. That path is chasing a preferred indifferent. The first builds something internal, unshakable. The second builds a monument that changes with the wind. So here's a prompt. Think of a decision you made recently, big or small. What you said in a meeting, how you spent an hour. Ask yourself quietly, was that action guided by an internal sense of what was right, by wisdom or courage or fairness, or was it guided by a desire for how it would look? For approval, for a positive reflection in that mirror, the answer isn't about judgment. It's about seeing the compass you're using and realizing you have the chance to choose a different North Star. One that doesn't move. Marcus Aurelius talked about this inner citadel, a fortress at your center, high, quiet walls. Inside, that's your principles, your judgments. The color of your own thoughts. Everything else is outside, the noise of the world, the shifting winds of opinion, praise, blame. It all rages out there against the walls. But it can't get in, not unless you open the gate and let it. That's the core of it. Stoic resilience, your reputation, for instance, that's just a weather pattern outside the city. A rumor is a gust of wind, popularity, a brief, warm sun. They're real, they happen, but they are not the city. They don't define what's built inside. The architecture of your soul. Marcus wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, not with the color of what others say. The dye comes from inside. From the quiet conversations you have with yourself about what's true, about what's good. So when a false story circulates, at work maybe, the immediate impulse is to run outside the walls. To chase that rumor through the streets, to shout your defense into the storm. The Stoic asks a different question. Is the rumor true? If it's not, then it belongs outside. It's whether your duty is to tend the interior, to act with integrity in your next meeting, to do your work with care, to remain just, temperate in your dealings. You guard the gate of your own judgment. You choose not to let the chaos in. This isn't passivity. It means your energy goes where it has power, fortifying the walls. Not exhausting yourself in the tempest. So here's a question. What's one belief about yourself? One quiet truth no outside opinion could ever change. Maybe it's that you try your best, that you learn from mistakes, that you value kindness. That's a stone in your wall. The more you identify those stones, the more solid your citadel becomes. And you realize a freedom, a profound one. The forecast outside can say anything, but inside you decide the climate. Ancient Rome had these gladiators. The crowds would roar for them. But Stoic students, they were studying something else. They were looking at Cato the Younger. He was a senator. He chose principle, and he chose it even when it cost him everything. The Stoics weren't trying to find the loudest voice in the forum. They wanted the clearest character you could find in history. They had this ideal. They called it the sage. The wise person living in perfect harmony with virtue. They admitted a perfect sage was rare, like a phoenix, almost mythical, but they used these figures as a North Star. Not to worship them, to learn from the direction they pointed. Seneca wrote about this. He wrote letters. He talked about his own teacher, a man named Attalus. He didn't praise him for wealth. He didn't praise his social standing. He praised his voice. It was rough from speaking truth. He admired the simple cot he slept on. The plain food he ate, not as a performance of poverty, as evidence of a mind that was free, free from wanting more. Seneca was looking at the traits, not the title. He was admiring the inner architecture, not the exterior decoration that creates a filter, a powerful filter for our own admiration. Modern culture, it celebrates the accolade. The follower count, the visible trophy. The Stoic practice asks you to look behind that. Who do you know, in life or in history? Someone whose actions show wisdom, not just cleverness. Who shows courage in quiet perseverance, not just dramatic bravery. Who practices justice in small moments, unseen moments. That's the person worth studying. So the prompt is this. Who is someone you admire primarily for their character, not their reputation? It could be a historical figure, a community elder, a colleague, even a fictional character. What single trait stands out? Is it their unwavering fairness, their calm in chaos, their gentle honesty? Name that trait. Because in naming it, you begin to internalize it. You start to see it as a quality you can cultivate within your own citadel. You stop chasing the crowd's cheer. You start listening for the sound of a voice that speaks with integrity, even if it's rough, even if it's seldom heard. The mirror of public opinion shifts. But the Stoics had a nightly habit, something much more useful than counting likes. Seneca would close his day with a quiet talk with himself. He'd ask two questions. What wrong did I do today, and what good did I do? He wasn't checking his social standing. He was checking his character. Where did I act with courage even when I was afraid? Where did I let the need for approval guide what I said? He famously asked, what bad habit did you cure today? What fault did you resist? This wasn't about punishing himself. It was about calibration, taking the compass you set in the morning and holding it up to the stars at night to see if you're still heading toward your own north. That practice, the evening review, it builds that inner fortress one brick at a time. It makes your own judgment stronger, so you need the outside applause less. Or the outside criticism. You become your own most trusted advisor. A modern version is simple. Take 5 minutes. Ask, where today did what I do line up with what I really believe? Maybe you listened patiently when you wanted to interrupt. That's temperance. Or you spoke a hard truth but with kindness. That's courage mixed with justice. Then ask, where did I act for how it looked? Did I stay quiet just to avoid an argument? Did I make a story bigger to seem more impressive? The point isn't to keep score. It's to see the pattern, to notice when you're living from the inside out and when you're just reacting to whatever's happening outside. So what would your review be tonight? Not a list of tasks you finished or praise you got, but a quiet look at the moments you chose what was right over what looked good. Those moments, over time, they build a reputation you don't have to chase. One that just comes naturally from a character you've been tending to. The Stoics saw praise the same way they saw criticism. Both can mislead you. It sounds strange because praise feels good. But they're the same kind of event. A compliment and an insult are just different whether hitting your walls. One's warm, the other's cold, but neither tells you anything about your foundation inside. They're external, they're data about other people's minds, not a verdict on you. Epictetus said it clearly. If someone tells you a person is speaking ill of you, don't defend yourself. Just say, he must not know my other faults, or he'd mention those too. It's a disarming move. It treats criticism as incomplete information, and then he gives the other side. When you're elated by praise, he says, you've been caught off guard. You've mistaken the applause for something real about yourself. In both cases, the dejection or the elation, you've handed your inner compass to someone else. You've let them set your north. Take a glowing performance review. It feels wonderful. The Stoic approach isn't to reject that feeling. It's to enjoy the warmth like a sunny day. But then you go back inside. You don't rebuild your house based on that one day's forecast. You don't define your entire worth by that document. You assess yourself against a sturdier standard. Did I work with diligence? Was I fair? Did I act with integrity? That review is external. Your answers to those questions are internal. They're yours. The goal is equilibrium, a steady, reasoned response, not a flat line, but a center line you return to. Praise comes in, you note it, you appreciate the kindness, and you return to your work. Criticism arrives, you look for any useful grain of truth, discard the rest as noise, and you return to your work. Your worth isn't being decided in that exchange. It was already there in the quality of your effort. So here's an exercise. Think of a recent compliment or a slight, something that stuck. Can you mentally place it in the external category? See it as data about the person who said it, about the moment, the context, not as a truth about you. The compliment might reflect their generosity. The insult might reflect their frustration. Your character remains your own project under construction, judged only by the architect inside. When you practice this separation, a quiet peace arrives. The noise of the world turns down, and your own voice, the one that measures your actions against your principles, becomes the only one you need to hear. You held the door open, but why? For the person behind you or for the small, quiet credit you gave yourself? Stoic ethics asks you to look right there at that split-second intention. They called it prohersis, your faculty of choice. It's the inner act of will, the reason you do the thing, and it's completely invisible. No one sees it. But the Stoics, they believed it was everything. Your character is just the sum of these invisible choices. The purity of your intent, not the visibility of your action. That's what builds virtue. Marcus Aurelius put it bluntly. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. The arguing, that's for reputation. The being, that's for you." This is the transparency of intent. You choose an action because it aligns with wisdom, justice, courage, temperance. You do it because it is right, full stop. Any good that comes from it, a better reputation, that's a preferred side effect. It's not the target. The target is the alignment itself. Think of anonymous charity. You give because there's a need, and giving is just. The act completes itself in the doing. The recipient benefits. Your character is fortified. There's no external loop to close. Now consider publicized philanthropy. It can be wonderful. It does great good, but the intent can become mixed. Is the primary driver to alleviate suffering, or to be seen as the kind of person who alleviates suffering? The action might be identical, but the inner choice is different. The Stoic isn't judging the outcome, but illuminating the starting point. Where does the energy for the action come from? From a deep well of principle or from a craving for recognition? Your reputation then becomes a kind of echo. If you act from a place of consistent, right intention, a reputation for integrity will likely follow. But it follows. You're not facing backward, watching for the echo. You're moving forward, speaking your truth. The echo takes care of itself, and sometimes the echo doesn't come at all. You do the right thing, and it's misunderstood or ignored or even punished. In the economy of reputation, you've lost, but in the economy of character, you've gained everything. You've deposited another stone of integrity into your inner citadel. So here's a small, practical prompt. Before the day ends, identify one tiny action you can take purely because it's right. Something with no audience. It could be putting a stray card back in its place, deleting a cutting remark you typed but didn't send, doing a task thoroughly when no one will check. Then do it and tell no one, not a soul. Let the act exist between you and your own standard. That silent space where you act without a witness is where your character is truly forged. It's where you stop performing goodness and start embodying it. And in that quiet embodiment, you might just find a freedom more valuable than any applause. Cicero had the crowds cheering for him one day, and then they were demanding his exile the next. That fickleness, the Stoics saw it as a historical fact. It makes reputation a dangerous thing to rely on. You have Seneca. He was this wealthy advisor. He wrote all this philosophy, praised for its wisdom, but he served an emperor. And the emperor's actions often went against that wisdom. Public opinion swung around him. He went from celebrated intellectual to a political scapegoat. He knew that volatility. He wrote about fortune. Fortune gives and fortune takes away. She delights in her game, and he wasn't just talking about money. He meant fame, standing, the applause of the forum. To build your life on her gifts, he said, is to build on a cliff edge. Then there's Socrates. Athens prized debate, it prized wisdom. And it sentenced its most famous philosopher to death. The public that listened to him in the marketplace, they voted for his passing. His reputation shifted. From a provocative thinker to a corrupting influence, not because he changed, but because the winds changed. Political fear, public sentiment. The Stoics looked at his calm acceptance. He refused to compromise his principles, even to save his life. They saw a man anchored to something deeper than popular approval. And this isn't just ancient history. You see the pattern in any modern news cycle. A public figure gets elevated, celebrated as a visionary, then months later they're scrutinized, cast down. Social media amplifies it, creates these rapid rises, dramatic falls in perception, sometimes over a single misstep, a misunderstood comment, what we call cancel culture. It's that same ancient fickleness. Just at digital speed, it shows a stark truth. The court of public opinion has no permanent verdicts, only temporary judgments. To tie your sense of worth to that court is to sign up for a lifetime of anxiety. You're always waiting for the next ruling, so you think of a public figure from any era whose reputation shifted. What does that tell you about relying on it? The lesson isn't that the public is cruel or foolish. It can be both. The lesson is that public opinion is an external force, as changeable as the sea. You wouldn't build your house on the shoreline and expect it to stand forever. The Stoic asks you to build further inland, on the bedrock of your own reasoned choices. Let the waves of opinion crash where they may. Your peace doesn't come from calming the sea. It comes from knowing you built on solid ground, in a place the tides can never reach. Pull the camera way back from that worry, back from the social moment. See your street, then the whole city at night, just lights. Keep pulling back. The continent turns into a shape, the planet into that blue marble hanging there in all that quiet space. That's the view from above. Marcus Aurelius used to do this. He'd tell himself to look at things from up there. He wrote about how fast things disappear. The people themselves, and then the memory of them, all the fame they were after. From that distance, one person's opinion of you is it's a whisper. And the canyon it's in is made of time. The opinion is still there, but its weight, it just changes completely. That rumor, that comment that stuck with you, that fear of not measuring up. You put it in that frame. You see your whole life as one line on a timeline. And you see all the centuries before it, billions of lives, each one with its own urgent drama, its own reputation that mattered so much. And then you look back at this afternoon's slight. Does it keep that sharp edge, or does it start to look small, a fleeting thing in the long story of a person? This isn't about making your life feel small. It's about making space. It shrinks the monster down to its actual size, a size you can handle, and that space lets you ask a different question. Not what do they think of me, but what do I decide to think about this? From up here, what's left as the important project is your character, because that's what you carry. That's the quality of your own journey across that timeline. Reputations, they're written in sand, right by the water. The tide comes in, but the person you became, the things you practiced, that's the journey itself. So a practical thing for the next time that anxiety about your image starts up, ask, will this matter in a year? Will that ignored message or that great compliment, will it have any weight in 12 months? Then pull back further. Will it matter in a century? The point isn't to say your feeling isn't real. It's to give you perspective so you can hold the feeling, see it, and then put it back into the wider flow of your life. It lets you return your energy to what does matter from this higher place, being kind right now, building something today. Letting the echo of your reputation take care of itself while you focus on the quality of your own voice. That whisper of opinion fades, you're left with a choice. What do you want? We're conditioned from the first gold star on a drawing to want the applause, the likes, the proof. Stoicism asks for something else. It calls for a retraining of desire. The goal is to stop wanting what the world offers and start wanting what is truly good. This connects to the first tool, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus taught we should only desire what's up to us, because desiring what you can't control is frustration. It hands your happiness to a world that's indifferent. Your reputation, your standing, your fame, these are externals. They're not proper objects of desire. The only proper object is your own moral progress. The cultivation of wisdom, courage, justice, temperance within yourself, That is fully up to you. That's the only thing you can truly attain. Epictetus put it in a way that stops you. He said freedom is the only worthy goal, and it's secured not by fulfilling desires, but by eliminating them, by eliminating the desire for what is not yours to command. He wrote, freedom is not achieved by satisfying desire, but by destroying it. When you desire only what you already have, your capacity for choice, your ability to act with integrity, you are free. You're no longer a beggar at the door of public opinion. Think about a common desire, the desire to be seen as smart. That's an external target. It lives in other people's assessments. You might chase this by name dropping, by dominating a discussion. The energy is pointed outward toward managing a perception. Now contrast that with the desire to actually learn and understand. That's an internal target, a desire for the virtue of wisdom. You pursue this by asking humble questions, by listening, by admitting what you don't know. The energy is pointed inward toward genuine growth. The first desire leaves you anxious, checking for validation. The second brings its own satisfaction, regardless of who notices. So here's a reflective prompt. Examine one of your current desires right now. It could be for a promotion, for followers, for a compliment. Ask yourself, is this desire primarily for an external, like a reputation or a reward? Or is it for an internal, like developing a skill, strengthening your patience, acting with more fairness? Just the act of naming it shifts something. You begin to see the compass needle of your own wanting, and you realize you have the power, slowly, to turn it away from the shifting magnetic north of the world and toward the true north you carry within. This is the discipline, not a suppression of want, but a redirecting of it toward the only thing that can ever truly satisfy. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we can listen twice as much as we speak. That's an old proverb. It could be a Stoic motto. Measured speech isn't just about being polite. It's applying their philosophy directly to how we talk. When you feel that urge to explain yourself constantly, to correct every little thing, to share every achievement, that's often coming from a place of insecurity. You're trying to manage your reputation with words, but words, once you put them out there, are outside your control. How people hear them, how they interpret them, whether they remember them. That's not yours. The Stoic approach is different. You cultivate an inner certainty, something so solid the need for this verbal defense just falls away. Seneca wrote about this to his friend Lucilius. He said we should be slow to speak, deliberate in what we say. He praised listening, absorbing before reacting. That quiet confidence, he said, is a form of strength. It communicates that your worth isn't up for debate in every single conversation. Your character isn't something you need to prove with a flood of words. It demonstrates itself through action, through patience, through the quality of your attention when other people are talking. Think about a common office situation. A piece of gossip comes your way, or a misleading story about a project you worked on starts going around. The immediate impulse is to jump in, to set the record straight, to defend your position, to make sure everyone knows your side. That impulse is the voice of reputation management. The Stoic asks a different question. Will engaging in this actually serve wisdom or justice, or is it just serving my own fragile ego? Often, adding your voice to the noise only fuels the fire. Choosing silence, choosing not to participate, that's not weakness. It's a deliberate act of restraint. It withdraws your energy from a chaotic external drama, and it reinvests that energy in your internal peace. The truth of your work, the truth of your character, doesn't require every rumor to be chased down and slain. The same principle applies online. In the endless scroll of comments, you see a misrepresentation, a harsh critique. The temptation to fire off a reply is powerful. It feels like you're defending your territory, but what territory are you really defending? A perception in a stranger's mind. By engaging, you've handed them your time. Your emotional energy, you've let them dictate the terms of your next few minutes or hours. Silence in that digital space can be the ultimate declaration of independence. It says my equilibrium is not contingent on your approval or your understanding, so here's a quiet prompt, something to sit with. When did you last speak primarily to impress someone or to defend your image? Can you recall a recent conversation where your words were less about sharing truth and more about shaping how you were perceived? In that moment, could silence have been the more virtuous choice, not a sullen silence, a resentful one, but a peaceful, confident silence, a silence that comes from knowing your character, built brick by brick in private, doesn't need a public relations campaign. It simply is, and in that being there is a profound freedom, an unshakable one. Silence is a fortress, but the walls get tested. Slander isn't a disaster. It's an exam for your character. The Stoics didn't just tolerate hardship, they saw it as essential, the training ground where virtue gets proven. A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. A life without opposition never reveals the depth of your principles. That's where Amor Fati comes in, the love of fate. It's not about enjoying pain or pretending criticism feels good. It's about embracing everything that happens, especially the difficult things, as the raw material for your growth. A damaged reputation, unfair blame, these aren't interruptions to your journey. They are the journey itself. They give you the perfect, unasked-for chance to practice the very virtues you're building. Courage to face the social discomfort without fleeing. Justice to treat even your accuser with fairness in your thoughts, refusing to return malice for malice. And temperance to govern your anger, your impulse to lash out, and choose a reasoned response instead. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. An obstacle, like a false rumor, doesn't block your path to a good life. It is the path, if you choose to walk it rightly. It forces you to clarify what you truly value. Is it your social standing or your integrity? The moment you choose integrity, the obstacle transforms. It's no longer a wall, it's a stepping stone, lifting you to a higher view of yourself. Consider a practical example. A small business fails, it's a common story. Alongside the financial loss comes a wave of criticism, some fair, some unfair. People might whisper about poor management or question your judgment. The reputation-focused mind spirals. It wants to defend, to blame others, to rewrite the story to save face. The Stoic-minded person does something different. They sit with the situation. They ask, what lessons can be learned here? That's the pursuit of wisdom. They assess their own actions with honesty. Where did I succeed? Where did I fall short? They treat the critics with justice, acknowledging any valid points without absorbing the cruelty, and they practice temperance by managing the shame. The desire to hide and choosing to move forward with dignity. The public perception of the failure is external, a weather pattern. The internal cultivation of wisdom from the experience is the real harvest. So here's a reflective prompt, a quiet one. Recall a past criticism, large or small, a time someone spoke poorly of your work or misunderstood your intent. Now look at that memory not as an attack, but as a piece of equipment in a gym. How could that situation have been a workout for your character muscles? Could it have strengthened your patience, your humility, your resolve to act rightly regardless of noise? By reframing it this way, you reclaim the event. It stops being a scar on your reputation and starts being a landmark in the development of your character. You begin to see every challenge not as a threat to who you are, but as an invitation to become who you could be. Self-improvement isn't about retreating from the world, it's preparation for it. The Stoics were social thinkers. That inner citadel you build, it's not a private castle to hide in. It's meant to be a wellspring of good for your community. The quiet work on your own character fuels your capacity to contribute. This is a crucial point. Stoicism isn't self-absorption. It's about building a self that can be of use. The goal of all that inner discipline is to act with justice, with kindness, with a sense of duty to the whole. They called this oikoiosis, a sense of belonging, of connection, the idea that we're not isolated units but part of a larger human community, from the family to the city to the entire world. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself. He said, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings no benefit to the bee. Your personal flourishing is tied to the flourishing of the whole." Your character finds its highest expression in service, in contributing to the common good, and here's the key distinction. You act justly and kindly because it's right. Because it aligns with your nature as a social, rational being. The action itself is the reward. Any good reputation that comes from it is a preferred side effect. It's not the motive. If you're motivated by the applause, you're not performing the virtue of justice. You're performing a transaction. The Stoic motive is pure. It comes from a recognition of our shared humanity. Epictetus captured this. He said, "You are a citizen of the world and a part of it, not a subordinate but a principal part." You are capable of comprehending the divine administration and of considering the connection of things. What does the character of a citizen of the world demand? That you never value anything as being to your own benefit which it is not to the benefit of the whole. This flips the script on personal ambition. Your success is redefined. Not as climbing over others, but as lifting the circle you're in. Think of two people in a workplace. One volunteers for a difficult project because it needs to be done, because it helps the team and the company's mission. They lead with fairness, giving credit freely, solving problems quietly. Their focus is on the health of the hive. The other volunteers primarily for the visibility, to be seen as a leader. They might still do good work, but their energy is split, part on the task, part on managing the perception of the task. The first person is building character through social duty. The second is often unconsciously using social duty to build a reputation. The actions can look identical from the outside, but the inner compass points in different directions. So here's a quiet prompt. What's one small way you can fulfill a social duty this week with no need for recognition? It doesn't have to be grand. It could be mentoring a new colleague without mentioning it to your boss. It could be picking up litter in your local park without posting about it. It could simply be listening fully to someone who needs to be heard without waiting for your turn to speak. Perform that act purely because it's a thread in the fabric of your shared world, and then let it go. Notice how that feels. It's a different kind of satisfaction. One that doesn't require an audience. It comes from knowing you acted as a citizen of the world should. And in that knowing, your character grows stronger, and your need for the world's validation grows quieter. That story about you, it exists in their mind, not in yours. It's a character they've built, pieced together from fragments they've seen, colored by their own history, their mood that day, their fears. The reputation you worry about, it's a mental model, a sketch, and you've confused that sketch with the living person. That's the illusion. The you in their head isn't you. It's a story, and you have no authorship over it. Epictetus put his finger right on it. He said people are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. The event itself is neutral. It's the judgment, the story someone builds around it, that carries the charge. Their judgment of you is their reality. Your character is yours. Confusing the two, believing their sketch is the true portrait, that's where the suffering comes in. Take a simple misunderstanding. You make a dry, sarcastic joke in a meeting. One person gets it, they chuckle. Another person, stressed, overwhelmed, they only hear the literal words. They build a story. You're being dismissive, you're rude. That story, that judgment, is their reality now. It feels completely true to them. But is it you? Is that your character? No. It's a narrative built from a sliver of data, filtered through their own lens. Your reality, your intent was humor, to break the tension, two different worlds existing side by side. The Stoic move is to see that separation clearly. To hold your own character, your known intent, as solid ground, and to see their opinion as a weather system in their own internal sky. You can acknowledge it's there. You can even understand why it formed, but you don't have to move into that weather. You don't have to adopt their story as your own truth. This applies to praise too. Someone thinks you're brilliant because of one clever remark. That's also a story, a pleasant one, but still a construction. To internalize that as your new identity is just as dangerous as internalizing the criticism. You've tied your self-worth to a character in someone else's play, and when the next scene needs a different role, you'll be lost. So here's a quiet prompt. Can you recall a recent time when someone's opinion of you was based on incomplete information? Maybe they saw you leave early, not knowing you'd started at dawn. They heard a clipped reply, not knowing the difficult news you just received. Their opinion, in that moment, was a story built with missing chapters. Your task isn't to frantically hand them the missing pages. It's to hold quietly the full manuscript of your own character, to know the context they lack, and to let their incomplete narrative exist where it belongs in the realm of things not up to you. This mental separation is a kind of superpower. It lets you move through the world with your integrity intact, while the countless stories about you swirl and change shape. They belong always to the storytellers. You can want to be famous or you can want to be good. The Stoics saw those as two different paths. They always chose the good. They followed their philosophy all the way to the end. Even your memory, your legacy, the way people remember you after you're gone, that's an external thing. It belongs to the people who come later, to the historians, to whatever stories happen to survive. It's not up to you, so it's an indifferent. What matters is the life you actually lived. The virtue you practiced in your moments, not how anyone later tells the story of those moments. Marcus Aurelius thought about this. He wrote that soon you'll have forgotten everything, and soon everything will have forgotten you. He pictured that chain, the people who are remembered and the people who do the remembering, all of them passing into oblivion. The universe moves on. It makes room for new things. That idea isn't supposed to be bleak. It's supposed to be a kind of freedom. It frees you from the last, most subtle trap. The desire to live on inside a story, to be a character in some future tale. That desire can poison what you do now. You might start making choices for the biography, not for the life. Think about two artists. One creates from a deep personal need. They're consumed by the act itself, by the fit between their skill and something true inside. The work is its own reward. The other artist creates with one eye on the canvas and one eye on the history books. They're thinking about their place in the movement, about what the critics will say, about how this piece will define their legacy. The first artist is focused on the virtue of their craft, right in the moment. The second is managing a reputation that doesn't even exist yet. The Stoic would ask which artist is actually free, and the answer is the one who isn't a prisoner of a future they can't control. Your legacy of character is built now, in the quiet choices no one writes down. It's the sum of your private integrity, your unseen kindnesses, your daily courage. That's the life well lived, whether anyone sings a song about it in 100 years, or whether it's completely forgotten. That doesn't change its worth. A flower that blooms unseen in a forest still fulfills its nature. It's no less beautiful for having no audience. So here's a question to sit with, a quiet one. If you knew for certain that you and everything you did would be completely forgotten in 100 years, how would that change what you value today? Would you chase the same trophies? Would you fear the same slights? Or would your attention shift just a little toward the quality of your own experience? Toward the depth of your relationships, the sincerity of your efforts, the peace of your own mind? That shift is the heart of the Stoic view. It asks you to live so fully, so virtuously, right now, that the question of memory just stops having any weight. The Stoics had this practice. They called it Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. It's like a mental vaccine. You don't wait for the disaster. You invite it in. You imagine in detail the thing you're afraid of losing, your social standing, your good name, the respect of people you know. You picture it happening. The harsh critique in a public meeting, the unfair rumor going around, the cold shoulder from friends. You feel that sting, the heat in your face, the tightness in your chest. But then you go further. You imagine living through the next day. You wake up, you go through your routines, you do your work, you breathe, and you realize something. You're still you. Your reason is still there. Your ability to choose a good response is still there. The event didn't destroy your core. This isn't about creating fear. It's about taking the power out of fear. By facing the possibility on purpose, you take away the shock. Seneca told his friend Lucilius to do this, to set aside days to live on the cheapest food, the coarsest clothes. To rehearse poverty, to rehearse exile, even to rehearse the end of life, so that when fortune comes to take something, she finds it was already lost to you. You gave it back in your mind. For reputation, it's the same. You mentally give back the applause, the good opinion, the social credit. You put it in the category of things you never really owned. What's left? Your character, your principles, the virtues you've been building in private. They become your only possessions, and you find they are enough. They're more than enough. So a practical version: before a big presentation or a hard conversation, take a minute, mentally rehearse the worst case. Not just failing, but failing spectacularly and being mocked. See the disappointed faces, hear the silence, then watch yourself. See yourself take a breath. Thank people for their time, gather your notes, walk away with your dignity, because your worth wasn't on the line, only your performance was. You've vaccinated yourself against panic. You've connected to the deeper truth that your value is separate from the result. Try it with something smaller. Imagine a social media post being widely misunderstood. A wave of negative comments. Picture yourself reading them. Then picture yourself closing the app, going for a walk, calling a friend about something else. You realize the comments are data about the internet, not a verdict on your soul. So here's a prompt. Try it. Imagine a worst-case scenario for your reputation in an area that matters to you. What inner qualities would you rely on to get through? Would it be your resilience, your sense of humor, your knowledge that you acted with good intent? Name those qualities. They are the unshakable foundation this practice reveals. And each time you do this, the phantom of what others think grows fainter. The substance of who you are grows more solid. There's one case where you don't ignore criticism, when it comes from someone whose character you genuinely respect. The Stoics didn't care about the crowd's noise, but they did listen to one clear voice, the voice of a wise person. This isn't about reputation, it's about something bigger. Moral calibration, feedback from a person of virtue, acts like a mirror. It shows you your blind spots, not to shame you, to sharpen you. Seneca wrote his letters to Lucilius for exactly that reason. He wasn't writing for fame. He was working on a mutual project of improvement with a friend he respected. In one letter he puts it well. He says, "I'll tell you what I like about our relationship. We can put things to the test together. I trust your judgment of me, you trust mine. That's the dynamic. It's a partnership in truth-seeking, not a performance for an audience." Compare 1,000 comments on a video to one thoughtful note from a trusted mentor. The comments are a storm of reactions, projections, fleeting impressions. Their noise, the mentor's note, is a signal. It comes from knowing you, understanding your goals, caring about your growth. Their critique isn't about how you appear. It's about the alignment between your actions and your principles. They might ask, was that decision truly just, or was it convenient? Did that response come from courage or from fear disguised as anger? That kind of feedback bypasses your ego's defenses. It speaks directly to your character. It treats you as a work in progress, which is what you are. So here's a quiet, practical question. Who in your life could be that wise judge? It doesn't need to be a formal philosopher. It could be a colleague known for unshakable integrity, a family elder who's navigated life with grace, a friend whose quiet wisdom you've always admired. The key is you respect their character, not their status. You trust their intent is to help you grow, not to elevate themselves. And if no specific person comes to mind right now, that's fine. Then ask yourself, what qualities would that person have? Would they be deeply honest yet compassionate? Would they have the courage to tell you a hard truth? Would their own life demonstrate the virtues they might speak about? By defining those qualities, you create a template. You begin to listen for that kind of voice in the world around you, and you also start to cultivate that voice within yourself. To become, in time, your own most rigorous and compassionate judge, not based on the world's standards, on the timeless standards of wisdom you're slowly making your own. That button for anonymity, it feels like a fantasy, but the Stoics argued the feeling it promises. That's the truest peace. It's the freedom of being unknown. Unwatched and unjudged, your actions don't have to be performances anymore. They can just be actions, and that's a powerful idea. The anxiety of managing a public persona, of constantly editing yourself for an audience, it drains you. It pulls you away from the present moment into a future of what-ifs and perceptions. Stoicism sees this as a kind of self-imposed servitude. You become a servant to the opinions you're trying to cultivate. Epictetus understood servitude. He lived as a slave before he became a teacher. He praised the simple life. He said the wise person knows to live in accordance with nature is to live free. And nature doesn't ask for a reputation. It asks for integrity, for action aligned with reason. The person who can walk through the marketplace unnoticed, content in their own mind, that person is more powerful than the emperor who needs the crowd's roar to feel alive. Think about logging off social media for a few days. That constant stream of comparison, the subtle pressure to present a highlight reel, it stops. The silence that follows isn't empty. It's spacious, it's room to breathe, or a trip to a place where you know no one. There's a lightness in your step. You can be quiet without seeming rude. You can be enthusiastic without seeming odd. You're free for a short while from the accumulated weight of your own story in other people's minds. You're just a person experiencing the world. That's the Stoic ideal made tangible. It's not about hiding. It's about reclaiming the energy spent on image management and reinvesting it in living well. So here's a quiet prompt. What's one thing you would do differently this week if you were completely anonymous, if no one was watching and no one would ever find out? Would you create something just for the joy of it with no plan to share? Would you dance in your kitchen with the lights off? Would you ask a question you're afraid makes you look uninformed? The answer points to a desire, one that's been waiting quietly beneath the surface of your public self. It shows you where the weight of reputation has been holding you back from a simpler, more authentic experience of your own life. And in seeing that, you take the first step toward carrying that anonymous freedom with you, even when people do know your name. Many people have multiple reputations. The Stoics wanted just one character, one that didn't change. We talk about people this way all the time. He's a good boss, but a bad father. She's generous with friends, but cuts corners at work. Those are fractured reputations, different faces for different people. Stoic virtue rejects that split completely. Your character isn't a set of performances. It's one thing. It requires harmony between who you are in private and who you are in public. The same principles that guide a handshake in a boardroom should govern your tone at the dinner table. If they don't, that's not just context, it's a crack in your foundation. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this internal conflict. He said the soul becomes a fugitive from itself when it's pulled in different directions. It's at war with itself. He was describing that exact fracture. The feeling of being one person here and another person there, that dissonance, he argued, is a kind of self-betrayal. Your rational mind knows what's good and just. To act against that knowledge in any situation is to be at war with your own nature. Think about an executive. Someone celebrated for aggressive, bottom-line leadership, who makes tough, even ruthless calls to maximize value. That's their public reputation, a driver of results. Then they go home. They want to be seen as a loving, patient parent, a pillar of the family, but the virtues are in conflict. The same capacity for dismissiveness used on a subordinate can slip into impatience with a child. The habit of valuing only outcomes can bleed into how they measure their family's worth. The Stoic point is sharp. True character isn't situational. Justice, kindness, temperance, these aren't uniforms you put on and take off. They are the fabric of your being. If it frays in private, it's already weak in public, no matter how well tailored the suit. This is why the Stoics placed such weight on our smallest, most unseen choices. How you speak to a service worker when you're frustrated and no one is watching. What you do with a lost wallet in an empty park. These aren't trivial tests. They are the purest indicators of your character's unity. There's no audience to perform for, no reputation to manage, just you and your principles. So here's a quiet question. Are there significant gaps between your public and private behaviors? Not the minor adjustments for social grace, but the real divides. Where do you hold yourself to a higher standard in one part of your life and let a lower standard slide in another? What would true alignment look like? It wouldn't mean being the exact same person in every setting. A funeral and a wedding call for different expressions. But it would mean the core virtues, your respect for others, your integrity, your courage stay constant. The mask you wear for the world would just be transparent, showing the same face that's underneath. That unity is the deepest form of integrity, and it builds a reputation not through management, but through the undeniable consistency of a soul no longer at war with itself. You will die, everyone who knows your name will die, and then what? The Stoics asked that, not to scare you, to free you. They called it Memento Mori. Remember, you must die. It's a tool. It clears away the clutter, all the noise about status, about image. It just goes quiet, and in that quiet, one question is left. How will you live the time you have? Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself each morning, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, what you say, what you think. He wasn't being grim, he was being practical, setting a filter for his whole day. If this were my last day, would this argument matter? Would this fear of embarrassment hold any weight? Would I spend this hour worrying about a slight, or would I spend it with someone I love? The answer becomes obvious. Remembering death strips life down. It shows you what's left, your character, the only project that goes with you all the way to the end. Think about people who get a serious diagnosis. Their perspective shifts fast, dramatically. The things that felt huge, office politics, social standing, they fade. What rushes forward are questions of love, of reconciliation, of meaning. Did I live with kindness? Was I brave? Did I contribute something good? Those are questions of character, not reputation. The diagnosis is a forced memento mori. A brutal one. It does in an instant what Stoic practice does slowly. It re-centers you on what you control, the ethical quality of your remaining moments. Seneca wrote about this. He said, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough if you know how to use it." He told his friend to live each day as a complete life, to go to bed satisfied as if you could close the book. This isn't about cramming in experiences. It's about the completeness of a day, lived with integrity. Did I act with justice today? Did I learn? Did I treat people well? If you can say yes, then that day was a good life. Regardless of who noticed, so here's a quiet question. If you had 1 year to live, fully aware of the limit, how much would your reputation concerns matter? Would you still lose sleep over a negative comment online? Would you still bend yourself to impress a difficult person? Or would your energy go somewhere else? Toward mending a relationship, toward creating something just for the sake of it, toward simple, honest conversations. The gap between your answers now and your answers then is a map. It shows you where you're living for the echo and where you could live for the voice itself. This remembrance isn't an end, it's a beginning of a more focused life. A more vivid one, a more courageous one. It asks you to build your character not for the history books, but for the peace of knowing in any moment that you are living as the person you truly wish to be. That unified soul, that peace, has a name, Apatheia. It's the Stoic superpower for emotional resilience, especially against reputation, but it's not apathy. It's not a cold detachment, it's something more active. Apatheia is being undisturbed by destructive passions, the craving for fame, the terror of infamy, the burning envy when someone else gets the credit. Those storms of feeling, the Stoics said, aren't inevitable. They're false judgments, mistakes in thinking about what's truly good. If you mistake a promotion for your happiness or a social slight for a catastrophe, that error generates the passion, the anxiety, the desperate need. Apatheia is the calm when you correct the error, when you see the promotion as a preferred indifferent and the slight as an external event like the weather. Your peace isn't contingent on the outcome. Your soul isn't jerked around by every validation or rejection. That's freedom. A calm soul can finally see clearly. It can focus its energy on what's actually good, cultivating virtue. It can act with justice because it's right, not because it looks good. It can practice courage without an audience. Think of feeling a sharp pang of envy when a colleague gets the promotion you wanted. That's the passion. It's a disturbance. It clouds your judgment, makes you resentful. Apatheia isn't the absence of feeling. It's replacing that destructive passion with a prosocial emotion. Instead of envy, you might feel a genuine motivation. You could admire their skill and decide to learn. You could feel happiness for their success while calmly reassessing your own path. The event is the same. The promotion is external, but your internal weather is completely different. One is a storm that obscures everything. The other is a clear sky that lets you navigate. The Stoics were precise. The goal wasn't to feel nothing. It was to feel the right things for the right reasons, affection for family, joy in learning, quiet satisfaction in a job well done. These are good, natural feelings. They flow from correct judgment. The passions they warned against were the chaotic, overwhelming ones that hijack reason. The ones that make us slaves to externals. So here's a reflective prompt. What passion related to reputation most often disturbs your peace? Is it vanity, that need to be seen as exceptional? Or the fear of shame, the dread of being exposed as inadequate? Maybe it's a lingering resentment over praise given to someone else. Name it quietly. Just to yourself, by naming it, you begin the work of apatheia. You take that churning, unnamed feeling and you hold it up to the light of your reason. You ask the Stoic question, is this passion based on a false judgment? Am I mistaking something outside my control for my very own good? In that moment of questioning, the storm starts to lose its power. And the clear sky of a calm soul, a soul capable of true virtue, begins to appear. The Stoic sage could be hated by everyone and still be happy. That's the extreme case. It's not about isolation, it's a radical self-sufficiency. The Greeks had a word for it, autarkeia. Your flourishing comes from inside. It's sourced from your own character, your virtue. It doesn't need to be plugged into public approval to work. The sage's happiness is generated internally, like a sun that gives its own light. External things, reputation, things like that, they're just planets that might orbit it. They don't power the core. This is the ultimate form of the dichotomy of control. The sage has placed their entire well-being in the column of things up to them. Their judgments, their choices, their virtues, everything else gets a calm acknowledgement, but never dependence. The ancient texts describe this figure with awe. They talk about the sage's imperturbability. Their soul is like a deep, still lake. You can throw a stone of insult into it. The surface might ripple for a moment, but the depths remain undisturbed, clear and calm. Epictetus said the wise person isn't shaken by what happens, but by their views about what happens. The sage has mastered those views. They see praise and blame for what they are, impressions, data, not directives for their self-worth. Now, this is an ideal. The Stoics admitted a perfect sage was as rare as a phoenix. It's a North Star, not a destination you're expected to reach, but its purpose is practical. It gives you a direction to sail. It shows you what's possible when you untangle your happiness from the unpredictable world of externals. Think of a master musician. They can play a complex piece alone in a soundproof room. The technique is flawless, the expression is profound, the music fulfills its purpose in that moment of creation. They don't need an audience's roar to validate the beauty. The satisfaction is in the alignment of their skill with the art itself. An audience is a wonderful addition. A shared experience, but it's not the source of the music's truth or the musician's fulfillment. The sage's life is like that performance, lived with integrity for its own sake. The virtues are played not for applause, but because the score of a good life demands them. So here's a quiet prompt. Can you imagine a version of yourself, even for a moment, that is so secure in your own values, so clear on your principles, that praise or blame simply doesn't alter your core? Not that you don't hear it, you're not numb, but it doesn't change the fundamental equation of who you are. It doesn't add to you or subtract from you. It just is. What would that feel like in your body, in your mind? That feeling, that glimpse of internal stability, is the whisper of the sage. It's the quiet signal that your character, not your reputation, is the true ground of your being. And every time you choose action from that place, you move one step closer to that unshakable shore. Your Instagram profile is a reputation factory now. Every post, every story, every caption you pick is a brick in a public monument. The currency isn't gold, it's validation, the tap of a heart, the flash of a share. That's the reputation economy, and it runs on an old fuel, the human craving to be seen, to be approved of. The Stoics would see the machinery, they'd see the endless performance, the curation of a life for an audience, and they'd point to that same internal fracture. You're splitting your energy between building a character and managing a brand. The platform makes the brand feel urgent. It gives you a measurable score for your social worth. But that score, those likes, they live in the column of things not up to you. They're the quintessential external. Basing your mood, your self-esteem on that volatile number is the digital age's Stoic error. It hands your inner peace to algorithms and to strangers. Seneca wrote about vanity. He asked, why trouble yourself about the applause of the multitude? The admiration of the ignorant is worthless. He wasn't against sharing ideas. He wrote volumes of letters, but his intent was the improvement of his friend's soul, not the accumulation of praise. His focus was the substance of the message, not the spectacle of the messenger. Translate that to today. The pressure to post the perfect life, the exotic trip, the flawless meal, that's the spectacle. That's reputation work. The anxiety that follows, the comparison, the refresh of the notifications, that's the tax you pay. The tax for investing in an external. The dopamine hit of a like is real, but it's fleeting. It creates a cycle, a hunger for the next hit, and the despair over a negative comment or a post that falls flat. That's the withdrawal. Your happiness becomes contingent on the most fickle of markets. Take a practical example. Two people share a photo of a hike. One snaps a quick picture at the summit. They're breathing in the view, feeling the accomplishment in their bones. They post it later with a simple caption. The moment was for them. The post is just a footnote. The other person spends the entire hike framing the shot, filtering it, crafting a caption to project an image adventurous, serene, disciplined. They're checking their phone on the way down for the response. The first person's action was aligned with the experience, a form of temperance and appreciation. The second person's primary experience was the performance. The hike was a set for a reputation play. The Stoic question isn't about judging which post is better. It's about asking where the energy was focused. Was it on the genuine character of the moment or on the crafted image of it? So here's that quiet prompt. How would your use of social media change if you focused solely on expressing genuine character, not crafting an image? What if you only shared what felt authentically meaningful to you, with zero attachment to how it performed? Your feed might become quieter, or more niche, or more joyfully random, but the energy you reclaim, the mental space you free up from constant comparison and curation, that energy could flow back into the quiet work of building your actual life, into real conversations, into projects done for their own sake. You might start to use the platform as a tool for connection, not as a stage for a character you're trying to sell. And in that shift, you'd find a little more of that Stoic freedom, right in the palm of your hand. Before you check your phone, the Stoics had a different first thing to do. They called it the morning meditation, but it wasn't about clearing your mind. It was about getting it ready, strengthening it for the day. You sit for a few minutes in the quiet and you do two things. You see the challenges coming and you repeat your principles to yourself. You're not forecasting disaster. You're putting a filter in place, so when the day's events come at you, they don't push you off track. Marcus Aurelius did this every day. He wrote these notes down. He would say, "Today I'll meet with interference, with thanklessness, with arrogance, with betrayal." All of these happen because the person doing them doesn't know what's good and what's bad. This is a forecast of the social weather. He wasn't just complaining. He was building up a resistance. By listing these possible problems ahead of time, he took away their ability to shock him or upset him. Then his attention went to his own reaction. He went on, "But I, who understand what good is, and know it's what's right, and understand what evil is, and know it's what's wrong, I can't be harmed by any of them, because no one can drag me into something shameful, and I can't be angry with my relative or hate him." That's the center of the practice. The outside event, the rudeness or the praise, is already sorted. It's coming from someone else's misunderstanding. Your task isn't to fix their misunderstanding. Your task is to keep your own understanding clear, to act from who you are, not react to who they are. A modern way to do this takes 2 minutes. Before you grab the thing that connects you to 1,000 other voices, you connect to your own. You sit, you breathe, and you state something plain. My value isn't set by today's meetings, by the traffic, by how an email sounds, or by any conversation. My calm is built on what I choose. My aim today is to act with patience, with fairness, with honesty. No matter what happens, this isn't just positive thinking. It's thinking based on principles. You're setting the rules for the inside game before you walk onto the outside field. You're picking your character as the main thing to work on today. Think about an athlete before a game. They don't just arrive, they picture it. They go through the moves in their head. They see themselves doing well when the pressure is on. The Stoic morning routine is the moral version of that mental practice. You're picturing yourself staying calm in a hard talk. You're seeing yourself being kind even when you get nothing back. You're getting ready to hear criticism without letting it say who you are. You're warming up your good qualities. So here's a quiet idea for tomorrow. Try a Stoic morning statement, not a fuzzy hope for a nice day, a clear plan for your character. Ask yourself, what one quality will I work on today, no matter how people act? Will it be patience? Will it be the courage to say a quiet truth? Will it be the self-control to listen more than I talk? Choose it. Keep it in your mind for those 2 minutes. And then take that quiet weight with you into the loud world. You'll see that the storms of what people think feel less dangerous when you've already tied your boat down to the deep, solid ground of the principles you've chosen for yourself. Your character is the foundation. Everything else, like your reputation, is just weather passing over it, a shadow you don't control. We've been through the tools. The dichotomy of control, that first sorting of what's yours and what isn't. The idea that virtue is the only good. Building that inner citadel, a fortress no outside opinion can break. And the daily practices, the evening review, the morning meditation that reinforce where your attention goes, on the quality of your choices, not the applause. It points to a kind of freedom. Epictetus left a line. He said, "What's insulting isn't the person who abuses you, but your judgment that they are insulting." So when someone provokes you, it's your own judgment that provokes you. And then the key, don't be carried away by the appearance. If your peace depends on what others do, you've made yourself their slave. The freedom is in caring only for what is your own, your character, your intent, your action. So the next time you feel that twist of anxiety about what someone thinks, see it as a signal. A bell ringing, calling your attention back from the marketplace of opinion, turning it inward, toward the quiet work that's always yours to do.